We're talking about transportation. And take a look at the pictures. Can you see the forms of transportation here? Let's identify them. Letter A. Which is this means of transportation? Can you see? It's a bus. In letter B, this is a subway or train. In letter C, we use this transportation to cross the river. We use the boat. Here in Amazonas, this is a very popular means of transportation. So you can use boat or a ferry boat. Ferry boat means balsa. We use to cross long distance in rivers, right? And letter D, this is a car, but it's a car that we use to take us to another place. That's a taxi or a cab, right? It's very common today to use Uber, 99 cars. These are taxis, cabs, right? So the photos show traveling by bus, train, or a subway, boat, ferry boat, and taxi or cab. How do you usually travel to places like home, school, supermarket? Do you take a cab? Do you take a taxi? Do you go by bus? I always go to my work, to Colégio Militar, by bus. How about you? How do you go to Colégio Militar?
1. By car. 2. By van. 3. By subway. 4. By train. 5. By ship. 6. By taxi. 7. By bike. 8. On foot. 9. By motorcycle. 10. By helicopter. 11. By scooter. 12. By streetcar. 13. By bus. 14. By boat. 15. By bus. 16. By ferry. 17. By plane. 18. By truck.
When I travel from Manaus to Ceará, Fortaleza, I always travel by plane. But when I travel around here in Amazonas, in the countryside, I always take a boat. I travel by ferry boat to cross the river, all right? To go to work, I always take the bus or sometimes I take a taxi. Now let's pay attention to the text here, and it is the introduction, right? And you're going to pay attention to some words that you're going to complete the three definitions here in number 1. A verb, that means to travel to work. In number 2, it's a noun, that it means the trip to work. And number 3, it's another noun, that means people who are traveling to work. So take a look at the text. The word schools commutes. Do you have a long trip to work? Do you have to sit in traffic for hours or fly with thousands of other commuters for a place on the subway? It doesn't have to be stressful to commute. Here are 3 of the words schools commutes. So what is number 1? Which verb here in the text means to travel to work? Let's check. So the answer is commute. It doesn't have to be stressful to commute. It doesn't have to be stressful to travel to work. When you go to work, when you travel to work, you commute. In case of students, the same way when you go to school, you commute. It's the same way to travel to school, to go to school, to commute. It's the verb, the action, right? Number two, the trip to work. It is the commute. Alright, commute can be the verb and the noun. So the word schoolers commutes. The word schoolers trips to work. So here we have the sentence. In the last part of the text, we have, here are three of the word schoolers commutes. So that's number two. And number three, which is the noun that means people who are traveling to work. Let's check. The answer is commuters. So people who are traveling to work or students who are going to school, they are commuters. Every person, everyone who is going to work, going to school, going wherever they are going to, they are commuters, right? And the action is to commute. All right? Let's go ahead reading the rest of the text. Which forms of transportation does the text mention? Let's pay attention. So take a look at the answers. Which forms of transportation do they mention here in the three texts here? In the first one, they go by plane. So every day they spend 9 minutes on a plane. In the second paragraph, people here go to work by bike. Can you see the picture? And the last one, take a look at the means of transportation from the photo. It's a boat. So the co-workers here drive by boat, by a ferry boat. So you can say ferry, ferry boat, or boat. The means of transportation that people use to travel across a lake, a river, it is the boat or ferry boat, right? When we talk about obligation or things that are necessary to do, we use the verb have to. Have to or has to for he, she, it. We use to say about that thing is necessary. It is an obligation to do. The grammar topic is the verb have to in the negative, don't have to. We use have to or has to for he, she, it to say that something is necessary. Examples. We have to go there by plane. So that is a necessity, that is an obligation to do that, right? She has to drive to work. She has a necessity. She has a necessity to do that, right? Question. Do you have to take the train to work? So I'm asking about if it is necessary to take the train to work. If you have to. In the negative form, we use don't have to or doesn't have to for he, she, it to say that something isn't necessary, that you don't have the obligation to do that, that you don't have the necessity to do that, right? Examples. You don't have to go to work by car. It doesn't have to be stressful to commute. So this is about something that is necessary or not. We use have to or don't have to. Remember, we use have to plus the basic form of a verb to say that something is necessary. Examples. We have to wear a uniform in school, so we have the necessity to do that. I have to go to work by bus. My brother has to get up at 5:30 every morning. Donna has to call her parents every night. In the negative form, remember we use don't have to plus the basic form to say that something isn't necessary, right? Examples: I don't have to work on Mondays. They don't have to study today. It's Sunday. Carlota doesn't have to buy a new computer. She got one for her birthday. Simon doesn't have to cook dinner tonight. He's at a restaurant. Remember, we use have to or don't have to for situations in the present and in the future. Examples: I have to wear a uniform at work. Present situation. I don't have to get up early tomorrow. Future situation. So pay attention to the examples.
I have to work tomorrow. Jack has to take the train to work. I don't have to work on Sunday. He doesn't have to start work at 7:30. Do you have to take the train today? Does he have to wear a uniform? Yes, I do. No, I don't. Yes, he does. No, he doesn't.
Pay attention to the pronunciation of have to and has to. Let's listen.
I don't have to go by boat.
2,
Do you have to work today?
3,
He has to go by bike.
4,
She has to get up early.
1,
You have to go to work by subway.
2,
We don't have to work today.
3,
She has to wear a uniform.
4,
He doesn't have to go to school on Sundays.
5,
Do you have to go home by bus?
6.
Does she have to drive to work?
We're talking about the use of have to and don't have to for the negative, has to or doesn't have to for he, she, it. Remember, we are talking about something that is necessary or not, something that is an obligation or something that you don't have the obligation to do. So look at the signs and let's complete the sentences using the verbs from the box. The verbs pay, turn off, and leave. Use these verbs with the verb have to and don't have to in the negative form, right? So, which is the answer for numbers 1, 2, and 3? We have a sign of a cell phone, and then we have free entry and dogs welcome. Complete the sentences by using have to or don't have to. 1. You have to turn off your phone. Number 2. You don't have to pay to go in. Number 3. You don't have to leave your dog outside. So, in picture number 1, cell phone is not permitted, it's not allowed to be used. So you have to turn off. It's necessary. You have an obligation to turn off your phone. In number 2, the entry is free. So you don't have a necessity. It's not necessary to pay to go in, right? And picture number 3, dogs are welcome. So you don't have to leave your dog outside. So it's not necessary to leave your dog out of the place. You see? Outside. Pay attention to pictures A, B, and C. Using the verb have to in the negative, don't have to. Pay attention to the ideas of each picture. The traffic light here indicates the color in red, so you have to stop. It's necessary to stop. You have the obligation to stop, right? In picture B, you have to turn left. You see? And letter C. You don't have the necessity to bring presents here. Can you see? Sarah's 30th birthday party and no presents. So it's not necessary to bring presents. You don't have to bring presents. Alright? Thank you for your participation and your attention, right? See you in the next video class.